If you search anything about retirement online, one question comes up over and over again. How much money do I need to retire? It's one of the most searched retirement questions on Google and YouTube, and it makes complete sense. There's a very reasonable question here, but it's usually asked out of order. And when you ask it too early, it can create two very different problems. Some people get scared and work longer than they actually need to. Other people get overconfident and assume everything's going to work itself out. But what people are really trying to figure out isn't actually a number. They're trying to figure out, is my lifestyle funded, or am I about to make a mistake that I can't undo? So the real question underneath how much money do I need is this. How much income does what I've already saved need to produce for my life to work? And once you answer that, the number usually becomes much clearer and hopefully much less scary. So let's discuss how to get to the right question. Before you can answer how much do I need, there's three things you need to get clarity on first. Step one is your retirement vision. What do you actually want retirement to look like? How are you going to spend your time? What matters? What doesn't? The who, what, when, where, how, and why of your retirement. Step two then is, what does that life that you've imagined actually cost? Monthly, annually, real world spending, not perfection. It just has to be honest. What is it actually going to cost you? And then step three is the inventory. What income sources do I already have? Social Security, pensions, any other guaranteed income? And only after these three steps does the question, how much money do I need, start to make some sense. So let's walk through a simple example using round numbers. Let's say a couple wants to spend about $10,000 a month or $120,000 a year in retirement. Now, let's look at income first that doesn't depend on the market. They might have Social Security, or they will have Social Security, so a reasonable assumption might be for a married couple to have about $4,000 a month or $48,000 a year in Social Security benefits. And on top of that, maybe they have a pension. Let's say they have a pension paying $3,000 a month or $36,000 a year. Altogether, that's $84,000 a year coming in without touching their portfolio. So if they want to spend $120,000 and $84,000 is already covered, that means their savings needs to produce about $36,000 per year. So that's the real job of the money. That's what their assets that they've saved or that they are going to save are going to be responsible for taking up. So this spot right here is where rules of thumb can be useful. I don't usually love them because there's always exceptions, but a common starting point people hear is that a portfolio might support something in the range of 4 to 5% spending. And all that means is that if they have $1 million portfolio, they can spend roughly $40,000 to $50,000 per year as a starting estimate. And just assuming that that would be raised by inflation every year for the rest of their life. Now, in this example, the portfolio needs to produce about $36,000. So based on that rule of thumb, if this couple has $1 million, they might already be in the right neighborhood. But one important thing to keep in mind here is that these are gross numbers. How much actually hits your bank account depends on where the income comes from and how it's taxed. So I'm not going to go deep into taxes here, but it's a big reason why retirement planning isn't just about hitting a number. Now, this is also an important place to slow down because these rules of thumb can break down here. So let's just quick talk about retirement spending. It doesn't usually happen in straight lines. People tend to spend more early, less in the middle, and more again later as their healthcare expenses start to take off. Not to mention that they've got one-off expenses along the way. So maybe they want to remodel a bathroom. Maybe they need a new vehicle. Maybe they want to take a trip of a lifetime. So if your numbers still feel a little short, that doesn't actually mean retirement's off the table. I want to help you there. And if they line up perfectly, it doesn't mean that there's nothing left to think about. For some people, this exercise is reassuring because it shows that they might be closer than they think. And for others, it highlights what hopefully is a manageable gap that can be planned around, not feared. Either way, this is a much healthier place to start than chasing some single number from the internet. So when you hear the question, how much money do I need to retire? Remember, it's not wrong, it's just not the first question. Retirement works when your money is aligned with your life and what you want from your life and what your life will cost. And when you understand that the job your savings actually needs to do, that's what can start to create confidence in your retirement, not just hitting an arbitrary number on a spreadsheet.